An NFC West clash is on tap Sunday as the Arizona Cardinals and Kyler Murray travel to play Geno Smith and the surging Seattle Seahawks. AQ, we've talked a lot about the NFC West. What gets you fired up about this game?
That was one of my favorite games as a player, is always going up to Seattle. I loved it. Everybody booing you. I mean, you just knew it was going to be one of the most fun games of the year. And listen, the Cardinals are coming off a bye week. Kyler's playing probably his best football of his career. Their offensive line is playing very well, and they are just hammering the run game. They got a glorified left tackle as their second tight end, Tip Ryman. They can just go big personnel with him and just beat people up. And James Conner's running the shit out of the ball. So I love everything about this Cardinals team. I think Seattle, they played better this past week, but I do think that Arizona comes in and beats them up in their own place.
What's different about Seattle's environment compared to other places in the NFL?
Yeah, I love playing at Seattle. It's a great stadium. I mean, the energy there from the time you walk out to warm-ups is awesome. But, Pugh, you said they're surging. The surging Seahawks, they've lost 5 of 6. I mean, they finally won a game. They've struggled. They've been beat up. Like, they're getting a few guys back, I guess, from a health standpoint. But surging, I don't know about that.
That's why, I said it with a questioning face. Are they surging? Let's not beat me up too much, all right? Is Kyler Murray the MVP or not, Colt? Or in the running?
You're asking the wrong guy. I mean, there's not a bigger Kyler Murray fan. And I think coming off the bye, there's some things they wanted to look at, self-scout on. AQ mentioned it. They run the football well. That's the foundation of who they are. And James Conner's running it well. They're physical. They're hitting some play actions down the field to Marvin Harrison, to Trey McBride. I just feel like their identity from an offensive standpoint out in Arizona is run the football and make big plays off of that with our play action pass. And then you can't ever tackle Kyler. I mean, his ability to scramble and make plays is what separates him. I've mentioned this many times before. Kyler's accurate with the football. He gives catch and runs to all these guys. He's put the ball in places where they can make a play on it. How many times have you seen this year him run around on his back foot, throwing a ball up before the receiver's out of his break, and they come down with it? I mean, he's playing really good. He has to be in the MVP conversation, especially if they go on the road and play well at Seattle coming off your bye week. I mean, I think they will.
All right. Well, now I've been seeing Gruden's face during this whole time. It's time that we let him get in here. Jay, first off, I'll let you talk about Kyler Murray and your thoughts there. But then give me a thought on these two young coaches, Gannon. I don't think many people expected the Cardinals to be here. And then Mike Macdonald getting this team into a position to be in the playoff hunt.
Kyler Murray is in the MVP conversation. It's a quick conversation because he's not close, but he's in the conversation briefly. The thing about the Cardinals, they start out 0-4. And Gannon was 4-13 last year as a rookie head coach. So he's 4 in his first 17 games. And somehow he figured out a way to win the last 4 games. They're on a win streak. They're on a tear. They're doing a great job. And like you guys mentioned, they're doing it the old school way, running the football. I think the main factor in that offense, obviously Kyler, hard to tackle him like you mentioned, but Trey McBride is a monster. I think he's emerging as probably a top 1 or 2 tight ends in the National Football League with his run after catch, his ability to block, his ability to get open. He's a superstar. And then Marvin Harrison is making his key critical plays in each game. He's a big red zone threat. And the addition of Marvin Harrison makes Arizona's red zone efficiency go up because of his ability to high point the ball, do the back shoulder fades, and do all the things in the back of the end zone and bring coverage over there to help James Conner in the running game. So I've been ultra impressed with Gannon and what he's done and how he's been able to turn this team around because it's not easy. I mean, there are people looking at you cross-eyed when you come in the building when you lost 4 in a row to start the season. Now they're on a tear. Now they have some belief and they're going. Macdonald, on the other hand, they started out 3-0, like he's going to be the coach of the year. And then they lost 3 in a row. Now they've won 2 out of the last 4. So they're 5-5. They battled through some injuries on defense. He's a defensive-minded head coach, and I know it's hurting him because they were giving up a lot of big plays in that 3-game losing streak. But they've got to figure it out now. They did a great job against San Francisco. They're getting some guys healthy. Witherspoon is probably one of the best nickels in all of football. He does a great job. He's all over the place, rushing a passer, picking off balls. They're doing a good job. And then Geno is hot or cold. He's the most hot or cold quarterback I've ever seen. He's thrown 11 touchdowns, got 11 interceptions. He can throw a ball over defenders' heads in only one spot the receiver can catch it. Then he'll throw it right to a DB right in his face. They're going to go as far as Geno goes and how he can control the ball and help protect the ball because their defense is getting better. But Gannon and Macdonald have done a great job so far this season as far as keeping their team on track despite having some very low moments in the season, losing 3 games in a row, losing 4 games in a row. They're back on track, and they're they're in position to compete for the division title. Cardinals are 2-0 in the division. Seattle's 1-2 in the division, but both teams are in position right now to make a late season move and win that division.
Yeah, this is a big game. That's good insight on Gannon and McDonald. I just want to go back to what you talked about, Trey McBride. Look, I was around Trey. I love him. He came in, he was a second-round pick, and everybody kind of scratched their heads at Steve Keim, like, why did you draft Trey McBride from Colorado State? And I remember going back and watching some of his highlights. What I loved about Trey coming out of college was his ability to catch the football. I know that sounds crazy, but he caught everything away from his body. He was always snatching, plucking the football. And when he came into camp, he was doing the same thing. He just, like, the speed was just so much greater, and it took some time to get going. And in Cliff's offense, Cliff based his offense out of 10 personnel, right? So we were having a ton of receivers out there. Trey just kind of fit in here and there, trying to get him up to speed. In comes Drew Petzing. Trey's gotten so much better because the offense revolves around the tight end. He's a good blocker, but a lot of the pass schematics, a lot of the concepts that they do off of play action, the tight ends won. It's the little fake pop pass to Trey McBride. You get him the ball in space, he's going to make a guy miss. Trey's just continued to elevate, but I knew it was a matter of time. He has all the skills and he plays full speed, and he's one of the best practice players that I've been around. Like every day when it's time to go to practice, go to team, like he's full speed no matter what. You could just sense he was one of those guys that was young but was going to have a really nice career. I'm so happy to see Trey making such an impact for the Cardinals.
Before we continue with the video, I have to ask one favor. Make sure you are liking, subscribing, and turn on those notifications. If you like this type of content, if you like hearing us talk football, hit that notification button. So every time we drop a video, it is coming straight to you. Yeah, I think Trey is one of the great stories, but another good story, and Jay alluded to him, is Geno Smith. He was in New York, had a struggle with the New York Jets. He's gone on to Seattle and really found himself. Cole, what are you seeing from Geno Smith in Seattle, reviving his career? Led a game-winning drive last week, ran the ball in against the Niners. Is Geno a guy that you have your eye on?
Yeah, I like Geno a lot. I mean, listen, we talked about it. They've been reeling. They lost 3 or 4 in a row. Like, this was a huge game for them against the Niners in the division, and for him to get the ball in his hands, march it downfield, and win the game, obviously, that's huge for the Seahawks and huge for Geno Smith. I mean, he's been up and down. They've had some injuries on their offensive line. They look like they got a couple guys back. They're right in it. You're 5-5. If you're 5-5 going into December, like, you got a chance to make a run, and I think they do. I think their defense has struggled a little bit, but they're playing a little bit better. They figured out a way to stop the Niners last week. So Geno Smith is a great story. He can make all the throws. He's confident in his game, and he's got good receivers. I mean, getting DK Metcalf back, Jackson Smith and Jigba, like, those guys are ballers. So he's got weapons. He's got skill around him. And I think this is an important game for them. Arizona coming to town, like, we'll see. I mean, but I do think they're in position with Geno at the quarterback to be able to make a run.
My biggest surprise is the Cardinal defense. I watched them against Washington just get pummeled. I thought they were awful, and they held the Jets to 6 points and the Bears to 9 points in their last 2 games. And a couple of weeks ago, they held the Chargers to 15. I don't know how they're doing it. Their personnel is a great. Buda Baker's a great player. I get it. But other than that, I mean, who are these guys? Heck of a job by Gannon, a defensive coordinator, of getting these guys together and believing in their package and producing. Hold 2 teams under 10 points in back-to-back weeks. I don't care who they are. That's impressive for a defense who I thought was absolutely a train wreck.
It was a little bit of a bend but don't break. Teams were getting down there. The Jets actually were driving the ball effectively, and it was like that's when the Cardinals would make a defense. A D tackle, there were some no-name guys that were making plays at great times, and that's a good segue to AQ. AQ, I know that we've been a little critical of this Cardinals defensive line. The offensive line, we weren't sure we were going to see. And then the Seattle Seahawks, their offensive line wasn't looking very good. What do the trenches look like for both these teams? And maybe give me a key of who you think is a game changer here.
Yeah, my biggest disappointment is the fact that the Seattle Seahawks have Kenneth Walker, right? And they can't get any production out of him. In my opinion, he's one of the best backs in the league. And over the last couple of years in Pete Carroll's system, he was able to get you 100-plus yards a week. And every week I turn it on and it's like 45 yards, 35 yards. Granted, their offensive line is not great, but I was really looking forward to seeing this coordinator who came from Washington and had a cup of coffee at Alabama as the new offensive coordinator of the Seahawks. And I was like, okay, cool. We are going to see Kenneth Walker explode here. I know they got a good pass game, but we're going to see Kenneth Walker explode. And we have not seen that On the other side, the Arizona Cardinals, I love their run game. I love everything they're doing. They're doing creative stuff. They're doing old school smash mouth counter at you. They're doing lead, going the other way. They're running single back power. They're doing all the stuff that we kind of grew up, all of us in this world kind of grew up learning the run game. And it's really cool to see them do that. But early in the season, they weren't doing this. When they were losing 4 games, they were not doing this. And the defense was atrocious early in the season. So you had both sides of the trenches terrible. And then of recent, the O-line's gotten better. The defense has gotten better. And what does that equate to, guys? Wins. Everything comes down to the trenches in this game. And I think the biggest thing going up there is I think the Cardinals have a better run game. And when they need to lean on it in shitty weather up in Seattle with that atmosphere, they're going to be able to do it.
Colt, who you have in this one?
Yeah, I got the Cardinals right here, man. I don't think it's crazy to say that the Cardinals are going to win the West. Like, they're playing good football. It's all about how they come out of their bye, and can they reestablish that 4-game win streak that they had. Kyler's playing his best ball. He's bought into the system. He's efficient. He makes plays with his feet. He's accurate with the football. Their defense will figure out a way to hold teams to 20 points or so. They've already beat the Niners in San Francisco. They've already beat the Rams bad. Don't remember, they beat the Rams 41-10. They're playing good football. I don't think it's crazy to think that they win the West, but I certainly haven't beaten Seattle this weekend.
They still have to play the Patriots and the Panthers and then the 4 division games, and I believe the Vikings. So, yeah, they can make a run. This is a big game for them, obviously, but I'm taking Seattle. I'm taking Geno Smith, not to turn the ball over 3 times, but to throw 3 touchdowns. You never know which Geno's going to show up. I'm hoping the one that throws 3 touchdowns, the DK, have it your way.
I'm going with the Cardinals as well. I am a little bit nervous about the defense. How long can they keep this up, just overperforming week in and week out? But they're an exciting team to watch. This is going to be a great game, a great environment.
Want to win money watching football? With Underdog, you could win up to 1,000 times your cash just by picking higher or lower on your favorite players' stats, like whether or not your team's running back will score a touchdown this weekend. Millions of fans have won billions of dollars on Underdog. Will you be next? Sign up now to get a free pick for your first cash entry, plus up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you deposit. Download the Underdog app or visit UnderdogFantasy.com to get started today.
Do we want to get into, I know we're going to talk about the NFC West a little bit later on, but our predictions of who we think is going to come out of the NFC West. Colt, you said you think the Cardinals are going to win it. I know San Francisco might have something to say. Seattle, LA is still sitting at 5-5. Do we have any predictions here on the NFC West and who is going to come out on top? Jay, I'll go right back to you.
I want to say personnel-wise, the 49ers should win the NFC West. They're underachieving, though, so far at 5-5. Had some injuries. Now we got to worry about Bosa and his oblique. So I don't know about them. The Rams have a very young defense, but they have the most talented quarterback in the division in Matthew Stafford and 2 great receivers. The Cardinals, they're overachieving. They have a great quarterback in Kyler Murray, a great tight end. They're very exciting. Their defense is getting better. And then Seattle is a wild card. After all that being said, I don't know. I will probably take the 49ers just because of Christian McCaffrey and the personnel that they have.
The 49ers defense is not what they used to be.
I can't decide, Colt. I can't decide. Don't yell at me. I can't take the Cardinals because of their defense, but they're doing great right now. I can't take Seattle because Geno's so up and down. Maybe I take the old KG veteran in Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay and the LA Rams.
Now, on the flip side, I think the Rams defense is solid. They're going to be good for a long time. They're a handful every time they play anybody. They're tough.
They weren't a handful when they played the Cardinals, so that's 41-10.
They're good up front. I'm telling you, they're going to be good for a long time.
He always has something, Cole. You just got to keep moving. Don't let him sidetrack you.
Like, if they could get a couple of key pieces back, I'm with you. I think personnel-wise, the Niners, everybody picked them to start the season. I think their offense isn't playing great, but they're playing good enough. They're in all the football games. Just the defense has given up like fourth quarter meltdowns that have cost them several football games. And so I just don't trust them right now, but I'm with you. I think personnel wise, they could totally win the West.
I think Ward's coming back. I don't know how long Kittle's going to be out. Bosa's injury is concerning. It's an oblique. That didn't look very good last week. Obviously, Ayuk's a big injury for him. He's out for the year, but still, having Debo and having Jawan Jennings and Pearsall's doing better. Brock Purdy's getting more and more experience, but McCaffrey and defensively, I don't know. You're right. It's going to be close. Now you've convinced me to lean towards the Rams, so I'm leaning towards the Rams.
Who are you going, Cole? Pick a team. Everyone keeps going back and forth.
Yeah, I'm going Cardinals. Jay just told you their schedule. They still play the Panthers, right? They got 4 division games left. They've played good in the division so far. This is a big week for them. They had a ton of momentum going into the bye. Sometimes that can be good. I just think all around, I think Kyler is playing at the best football he's played, and they kind of know their identity on offense, and they score points every week. So it'd be hard for me to bet against the Cardinals.
Until the Niners are out of it, I'm going to stick with them. It's too hard for me not to. At some point, they're going to have to adjust defensively. I know they have a ton of injuries, but at some point, the one thing that we've all played against San Fran all these years is they get you into 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7. They give you the overload defense, and now they get after it. And you're not seeing any of that. They're just lining up and, true 4-2 defense. They're not blitzing. They're not doing anything when they need to get after a quarterback. They don't, but they are in it every single year for the last 5-6 years. I think they're going to make a run at some point. When it comes back to the Cardinals, I think the Cardinals are going to win this game, and then I think they're going to lose to the Seahawks here at home here in 2 weeks, because that's literally what they've done every single time I was there. I would win up there, and then I'd come home and I would lose them. Right, Colt?
That's right. That's what always happens.
With the Rams, I just think they're too inconsistent. Their offensive line, is getting better, but they paid $51 million to a guy playing center and they benched him. So, they got some issues there. Long-winded answer for sure, but for me, it's the Niners. I think the Niners are still going to come out of it.
I think the Niners as well. I won't waste any more time. I think the Niners have the best team, and if they can just get Christian McCaffrey down there in the red zone, they're not as efficient as they once were. They start scoring down in the red zone, it's going to be tough to beat them.